again a new PDF with some of the remarks that I have for every unit. With in today's class we'll also be making use of the PPT because when I was looking at the context of the sections in this book, I somehow found some things were missing that you should know. So I'll also get to the PPT part. Okay, so until now we studied introduction to Python, wherein we talked about keywords, where we talked about input and output of the statement. So now we are able to do some computation, assigning values to variables, and then we are able to take input from a Python program, and in return we are also able to give outputs, right? So these
Yeah.
are the basic things that we know, and that we are able to write programs on Python. Perfect. So now let's start with the topic. We'll start a little with theory, but there's a lot of programming in this unit. Okay, and going further, it will all be about programming. So one also another thing that we saw in the previous unit was sequences, right? So tell me what sequence data types are there in Python.
Okay, so sequence data types, which then Python lists, tuples, and sets.
Perfect. There's also a dictionary that we skipped because
Yeah.
that was little advanced, and we'll cover those in the further units. Okay, so probably after this unit we'll jump back to all the data types. We'll be studying all the data types in very detail. We'll be doing questions very specific to data types. So say if a list is a sequence, then I'll give you 10 questions only around list, making use of input, output, making use of things that we'll study in this chapter. This chapter is all about flow of control. I'll just show you what's there in this chapter. So here, as you will see, so in this unit, it's introduction to flow control. What flow control is? What is selection? What is indentation? Repetition, break and continue, and nested loop. So using all this that I just spoke and what we studied in the previous unit, we'll be doing questions very specific to each sequence data type because whatever we studied in the previous unit and this unit, both of these will together consist of the like almost all the basics of a Python program. Okay, so you'll be using all these. You have to practice all these so thoroughly that whatever program you'll be writing later, in class 11th, class 12th, class, whatever engineering that you do, whatever, graduation course that you take, uh, if it's computer science, if it's a Python, all this you will require whatever we learned until now and whatever we'll be learning in this chapter also. Okay, so
Okay.
essentially my part was to tell you that you're not learning it for today, rather you're learning it for next 6 years of life, and if you continue to work as a computer programmer, you'll be using this for all your life. Okay, so
Okay.
let's just get to flow of control. So let's do some when you go to school. So this is possibly a pathway. There must be few roads you go by a school bus, or your father leaves you to school. Okay, so howsoever it works, the idea is there has to be a path, right? So if you follow Google Maps, then you have a path to go to school, right? So there would be two, three ways of
Yes.
going. One way could be the shortest, second way could be the fastest, the third way could be taking same time as either of these, but is a little complicated. So you choose a path to basically reach to your school. Similarly, I'll just read it out for you. We see a bus carrying the children to school. There's only one way to reach the school. So in this example, there's only one way. So driver has no choice but to follow the road one milestone after another to reach the school. So what is that? So we
Yes.
learned in chapter 5 that this is the concept of sequence, where Python executes one statement after another from beginning to the end of the program. Okay, so in this case, he has to follow the rules. So that's what. And when I say it's interpreted, uh, well, here's what we learned in chapter 5, that this is a sequence where Python executes one statement after another. Like I told you, if you go to shell, okay, I'll just open shell for you. So, yeah, if you open this, what do you say? Yeah, if you open shell and one statement after another. So if you write, for some reason this is not working. Let me just run Python shell. Yeah. So if I write x equals 5 and I enter x, it gives me the value as is, right? So this is what is an interpreted language, right? So we learned Python is a interpreted language, which essentially means the same, that there is an execution of one statement one after another from beginning to end of the program. But in other programming language, it's compiled. So everything that you say you wrote a program in mensuration.py, so line by line it gets executed, you get the output in Python. But in any other language, it will be a compilation of the entire program and then the output will be thrown. So that was just to recap why Python is interpreted. Okay, so getting to this line, the order of execution of the statements in a program is known as flow of control. Very important to understand that the order of execution of the statements in a program is known as flow of control. Later when you have complex problems, you'll not just get directly to code. Okay, you'll sit back, you'll create a flow of control, and then you'll code it. Okay, that's what we'll do. Basics, what we'll do in the class. The flow of control can be implemented
Okay.
using control structures. So Python supports two types of control structures. One is selection and other is repetition. Okay, so with selection, let's just talk about selection first, not about repetition. So let's just get the understanding. Flow of control, the order of execution of statements, the way these are executed is known as flow of control. And under flow of control, there are two control structures that Python provides. One is selection, one is repetition. So what selection is? Selection is, what do you understand by selection?
Picking out a, a thing from a group.
Correct. It's like choosing something from available things, right?
Yes.
Perfect. So Python allows you to do selection. That's what it's meant here. Python allows you to do repetition. What do you mean by repetition?
Doing something over and over again.
Perfect. Uh, s- yes, that's correct. So that's repetition. So let's just get to selection. What selection is? Okay. So let's just see this program to print the difference of two numbers. Uh, Perfect. So correct. So see what this program is trying to do. We need to print the difference of two input numbers. Okay. So let's just understand why selection is necessary. Okay, so we'll somehow try and recreate the same program. I'll make you understand why is there a need of selection for Python to have. Okay, so if I write num1 is 7, num2 is 5, and I need to print difference of this. Okay, so I'll just create another variable diff, and uh, what should I write here?
Two.
No, no. Since I am doing computation, should I write num1 minus num2 or num2 minus num1?
Num1 minus num2.
Okay. So you did the computation. Did Python do anything here? You just instructed Python. What if I tell you num1 input and num2 to input another number? Okay. So both of this gets enter the number, and the other program also does the same thing. Okay, so when num1 was so when num1 was 7 and num2 was 5, this would behave correctly. So what if I enter the first number as 5, second number as 8? See what it did give. Well, my fault here. What's the fault here? Om. What's wrong in the program that it gave me an error?
It was not an integer.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So when you're doing any kind of computation, you need to ensure that it's a correct data type. Perfect. So I'm glad if I make errors, you are correcting me now. That's the best thing. Okay. So enter the number, the first one being 5, the other being 8. It will give me minus 3. But the difference of these two should be 3, because uh, assuming we are to calculate the difference between two, so the difference between two is is 3, not minus 3, right?
Yeah.
So essentially Python behaved wrongly. Okay, because we didn't because we told Python to do so, right? So if I was to tell you that you have selection possible in Python, what would you have done?
Um, def num2 minus num1.
That would again be you telling Python to do it, right?
Oh,
Okay, so if I tell you that I'll let Python decide first which one is the biggest and then subtract the smallest from that number, do you think that would work?
yeah, it would.
Right, I mean, like, you find this logical, right? If you are able
Yeah,
to
yeah,
let Python decide which one is the biggest number, then you would keep that in the first place and then subtract the other one from that. Then it would always give you the right difference. Correct. So
yes.
that is why selection is important, and that is why selection as a feature is there in Python. Okay, so that's the idea of having selection as a feature. Okay, so before we start with selection, let's just you see this flow chart, some circles, some these shapes, right? So I have kept a little practice worksheet here. So assume num1 is 11, num2 is 7. What will happen in as per this flow chart? So start is for you to start and compute all this whatever is written here. So take a minute and tell me what will happen step by step.
Mm, first, num1 and num2 will get input.
Correct. So we have inputted num1 as 11, num2 as 7. Then
Yes. If num2 is greater than num2,
in our case num1 is greater than one
it's
num2.
greater. Yeah.
So what will happen? It will go on to yes condition or no condition. I
It
mean,
will go to yes condition.
correct,
Yes condition.
correct, because num1 is actually greater than num2. So this condition will be true. That is why it will go to yes box, right? What will happen then?
Then Python would subtract num2 from num1.
That's correct. And then it will print the difference and the program will stop. Correct. If in the condition or if in the input we would have given num1 as 7 and num2 as 11, then it would have followed the no box and then it would have printed the difference. So what essentially we are doing, we are allowing Python to make selections here.
Okay.
So that's the only idea behind selections. Okay, so another example, let's understand selection in Python with this example. You input two ages, then you write a program to print the elder age number, or rather better, write a Python program to tell if the person with that age is eligible for voting or not. So here in India, or rather, tell me what's the right voting age in UAE?
In UAE, you can't actually vote.
Okay, so the natives, the
It's a
citizens.
monarchy.
Acha, it's a
It's a
monarchy.
monarchy.
Oh my bad. Okay, so do you know things about India? What's the age when you can vote in India? Since it's a democracy,
18.
yeah.
Above 18.
Correct, above 18. So, would it be
Above
now
18.
perfect? So, would it be now possible for you to write a Python program to print the elder age or number, or to print or to output that yes, you are eligible for voting? Because now you know Python can make selections. So, whatever the number the person will input, you'll check. If it's greater than 18, then you'll say yes, you can vote. If it's not, then you'll say no, you can't. Correct. So because of selections, you can even solve these problems.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have discussed this approach. This will be your homework. Homework one for today. Okay. But you must be wondering, hey,
So what?
sorry.
Actually,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me. Uh,
can you see the homework again?
sure. Uh, Actually, there's a lot of noise from your end. Can you just check why it's happening?
Noise?
Yeah. Om, can you just like rejoin the class? Because I think there's some network issue.
Okay. Okay, I'll return.
Okay. Cool. No, guys. Sometimes life's not easy. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So now can you like see hear me well?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Perfect. Now I can hear you as well. So here's this homework. What you got to do, you got to write a Python program, taking two ages as input, and to print the elder one. The way we worked with this program, where we had to print the difference, okay, it would work as is. The another homework is you need to write a Python program to output whether the person is eligible for voting or not as per Indian rules. So basically, if the person's age is greater than 18 or equal to 18, he gets to vote. So you simply output yes, you are eligible for voting. Otherwise, you output no, you are not eligible for voting.
Okay, sir.
In that case, how many
It's a
inputs would
written
be there?
homework.
Yeah, it's a
It's a written homework.
yeah. No, you have to actually write a Python program for that. So it's not written. You have to write in the idle, the editor, the
Oh,
Python editor. Yeah.
okay.
So there must be one question that you have that hey, how do we write these selections in Python? You have this question already or
Correct.
not? You have this.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, I had.
Perfect. So there's this syntax. So if is the keyword that we use for making selections in Python. Okay. So this is the syntax. So syntax is basically a way Python understands. Okay, so if someone asks you what a syntax is, the syntax is a way that a Python understands what the conditions are about. Okay, so if is the keyword, condition is your condition that you will enter. Okay, and statement is something. Uh, Statement or statements is something that you will write uh, based on condition being true or false. Okay, I know it might be getting a little confusing. uh, let's do a program. Okay, let's do the difference wala program. Perfect. So now there's this one challenge we were facing, that num1 and num2, we need to find out which one is greater, and then we need to uh, like display outputs based on condition being true or false. Before I do that, you see this if condition, and there's a space here where I put a line, and then there's this statement. Correct. So this space
Yes.
is called indentation. Okay.
Hmm. Okay.
This indentation is nothing. It's just spaces to make Python program more like look good and more readable. That's the only idea. Okay. So with indentation, Python knows, hey, this is a block of a statement, block of a piece of Python code, and there has to be a condition to it. So Python reads the condition. If the condition is false, it doesn't read the statements below the condition. Okay, so it won't read these statements. Python won't read these statements if the condition is false. That's the idea of blocks. Did you understand
Okay.
this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. So, how do you put spaces? You would say I'll press a space bar. But in programming, we have this rule which is globally accepted, that indentation has to be a tab. Like you have this tab key on the laptop. It's the tab that you press for indentation, which in most of the editors globally is essentially four spaces. Okay, so I'll show you what happens actually. So we know what's the
Yes.
syntax of a if or else selection. We have if condition and then statements. So now to get the solution of this problem, what we need to do? We need to find out which number is greater, right? So we have to make a selection here. So we'll write if, and then we know two numbers loaded, right? So we'll do num1 greater than num2. Then you see the this colon here.
Yes.
That's the part of syntax. So you can't get away of this. So whenever there's a block, there has to be this colon, semicolon. Okay, so is this colon or semicolon?
It's a colon. A semicolon, I mean.
These are two dots.
Yeah, two dots. I actually don't know what you mean.
Okay, so
Two dots, I know. Yeah, I can see two dots.
perfect. So it's just two dots. Okay, so we whenever there's a condition here, whenever there's a selection, whenever there's a if statement, then we have uh, these two dots here, and then there's a start of a new block. Okay, and how does Python know? So see, when I pressed enter here, it itself gave this space. Okay, so in some editors it won't give a space, or if you force this program and press backspace here, you will go here, and if you press tab, you will come to the same position. So essentially, Python is programmed. This editor is programmed in a way that when you press tab, it starts a new block. Okay, so I mean this is about syntax that I just wanted to share, so you know what how actually it works. So now let's get back to the problem. So now we know we are making selections here. If num1 is greater than num2, then what should we do?
Def equal to num1 minus num2.
Perfect. Okay. Then apart from if, okay, so let's not just go there. Okay. So now I write another condition, because it might also be possible that num2 is greater than num1. Okay, so this is my another
Yes.
condition. Now what will I write here?
Num2 minus num1 means def equal to num2 minus num1.
Perfect. Great. So now you'll run me through the program. Okay, I'll just run this program. I write enter the number. I write 5 here. This would be num1. I write 8 here. This would be num2. Well, the answer is 3. The difference is 3 as per
Yeah.
Python. I'll run this again. Okay. Well, here I'll put num1 as 8, num2 as 5. Again, the difference is 3. Did we solve the problem?
Yeah, we did.
Right. So earlier, putting num1 as 5, we were getting output as -3. While when we were able to make selections using Python, we actually solved the problem because we are letting Python know, hey, you only can do meaningful calculations here. So whenever you put num1 as 5 and num2 as 8, so whenever the interpreter of Python comes to this statement, it checks if num1 is greater than num2. In case of num1 as 5, this statement is wrong. So it won't go to this statement. Okay. Python consider this as a block. So if the condition is false, it doesn't go to other statements on the block. Similarly, it's a interpreted language. Statements are executed line by line. So when this is false, Python goes to the next block. It checks num2 is greater than num1, which is true. So then it does the computation for diff, where the computed value is 3. Then it prints the difference. That's what is happening
Okay.
behind the scenes. Okay, so I think you understood how it's working.
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. Sounds good. So, in selections, you could do 2 or 3 more things. These are these. So that was actually there in the book, but in later part. So we'll cover this using our PPT. So to know, we already studied about if, which is a part of selections that we can do. The other thing is else and elif. Okay, so these are advanced conditions, selections that you can make. So what I'll do, I'll just go to correct. So I'll just open that PPT and perfect. So flow control. Let's just do some things here. Statement flow control. What is a statement? A single statement is any single executable statement. Any simple is a simple statement. Okay. So a simple statement could be as simple as x equals 5, where we are assigning 5 to x. So that is a single statement. Compound statement is a group of statements when executed as a unit in Python. This is basically in case of a block. So we just saw what a block is, right? So there's this another type of statement which is empty statement. A statement that does nothing. Is empty statement a simple statement? Well, yes. Okay. So
Okay.
remember this. So let's just go to the if conditional. What we saw is a simple plain if conditional statement. While we were putting in values, this is the condition, right? So in the syntax, this condition is as same as the condition in the box. So if the condition is true, a set of statement is executed. If the condition is false, rest of code is executed. Okay, so this is what if conditional is. Now I want to introduce you
Okay.
to else conditional. Okay, so if else, we usually call it if else. Okay, test expression. Test expression is the condition here. You say true, so it goes to body of if. What is body of if? Well, if you see this program,
Hmm.
this is a test expression here, which we also call condition. So in this image, a text expression is this. Then it says if text expression or condition is true, it will go to body of if. This is the body of if. So whatever that's inside the block of if, that's the body of if. If the text
Okay.
expression is false, then go to body of else. Okay. So else is nothing. Else is also a keyword and it's only used with if. only. Okay, remember this. So it says go to body of else. Okay, then just below if, so whatever is there in, below if, that gets executed. So if I was to edit this program and make use of else, see, if and else works only when there are two conditions. So when I say num1 and num2, there were only two variables to map to, so there were only two conditions to catch, if it's greater or if it's lower, smaller. So now here what I could do, I could simply write else here, and if this happens, okay. If it doesn't, this should happen. So that's the meaning of this program. We just, rewrote that program, the existing program, with two if conditions. When there are two if conditions, we can make use of if and else. When there's no other case
Okay.
possible. Okay. So if I run this module, let's just check. Num1 has 5, num2 has 8. You get the output 3. The difference
Okay,
3.
so I have a doubt.
Yeah. Ask me.
If you used, yeah, you used if itself to run the program in the first. So what was the point of using else?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Uh, correct. So if there are only two use cases, right? Then you can make use of combination of if and else. Otherwise, uh, let me take an example. Further will be the example where I'll show you there'll be multiple conditions, and where you would have mapped, let's say, okay, so let me just get to that condition. Okay, so input enter the marks. Okay, so I'll just explain you with the example. So
Yeah,
I'll,
right.
whenever you input the marks, I'll tell you back what grade you have. Okay, so for our grading, we have this rule. So if you have more than 90, I'll give you A grade. Okay. If you have more than 80, I'll give you B grade. If you have less than 80, I'll give you uh, C grade. And there's no grade, lower than C. Okay. It's a hypothetical situation. Mostly you have grades
Okay.
until 50 marks. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. So I'm just saying below 80, there's the C grade and there's no a grade after that.
Okay.
So when I'll be writing this program, what I'll be doing, if num1 is greater than 90, it will give me you got a grade A. Correct? Then
Hmm.
I'll put another condition. Just let's just do, if it's uh, greater than 80 is, well, what did I do? So try and understand what I'm doing. So in the first condition, I wrote num1 greater than 90. Okay, you got grade A. Num1 greater than 80. Okay, you got 8. You got B. So less than 80, what I'm doing, I'm telling Python, even if you got 60, if you got 50, if you got 40, you tell him you got C. Okay. So with this, I don't have to write another 6 statements telling Python that there's this. So it will always pick up itself that you have to use else. Okay, so this might not be the best example, but one second. You got grade A. Okay, what's wrong in that? Well, do you find something wrong in that?
No.
Okay, so there's this one space extra, or maybe not. There's nothing wrong. Okay, is this the system that's behaving bad? Well, so
It's okay.
yeah, tell me.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's fine here, so it's just the system. So
Yeah.
let's just continue. We'll get back to that, explaining why else. Oh, I mean, else is important. That's what you got to do. If
Okay.
there are only two use cases, so you got the idea from here, right? So
Yeah.
I don't have to write multiple statements. That's why I'm saying even if it's greater than 50 or
Okay.
whatever, just give the person a C. Okay. The other form is if elif else. Okay, so this is only available in Python. Okay, so this is not available in any of the languages. So that's what, let's understand from the flowchart. If condition, if the condition is true, run statements of the true condition. Then if the condition is false, take the conditions from elif. Okay, then false, then true. I mean, if it's false, body of else. If it's true, body of elif. Okay, so just to give you examples of what if else elif is are there, so let's just do more examples. It will clear why if is used, why if else is used, why if else elif is used. Okay, so we'll cover all these in this class, so let's not jump to like things so fastly. Okay, so let's just understand examples for if. So there's this example 6.1 which takes in, okay, so eligible to vote or not. This is the only thing you will do. Okay, so you'll enter your age, you ask for the age is greater than 18, print eligible to vote, else print not eligible to vote. Okay,
Okay.
perfect. So now let us use the same concept to modify the program so that it always gives a positive difference. So that's what we did. Okay, so we made use of the num1 greater than num2 or not and take actions accordingly. So we have to specify two blocks of statements since num1 can be greater than num2 or vice versa. That's what we did. Many a times there are situations that require multiple conditions to be checked and it may lead to many alternatives. In such cases, we could use the chain conditions using if, elif, else if. So that's the idea. When you don't want to write a lot of statements, then you can simply make use of else and elifs. Okay. So yeah, that's what we did. Write a Python program to print the positive difference of two numbers. We have already done that. Let's do it and click save. Let's look at the next program to print the positive difference of two numbers. That's what we did. Uh, Check whether a number is positive, negative, or zero. Okay, so well, uh, look at this program. Let me know if you don't understand this.
I am able to understand.
Perfect. So, could you also spot an error from here to the other program? Do you think if we make this elif, no?
But they think that the bracket is wrong. I don't know why.
Yeah, I also don't understand the idea with this. I think if we just rewrite, it should fix. You want me to spend time on this? If
So it's okay if it doesn't
yeah,
run.
yeah, let's just move on because it's just waste
Yeah.
of time. Okay, so you understood this. Then display the appropriate message as per the color signal. It's a similar program where you like write in whether the signal is red. I'll just read it for you. Signal, you take the input, the color of the signal. If signal is red, so double equals is to check whether the condition is true or not, or signal equals red. So this person is taking in two inputs with red as color in small letters and caps lock on. Then it will print out stop. Then it takes in other condition, else if signal equals orange or signal equals orange, again the same idea, both caps lock on and off. Then it prints out the go slow. Then this other condition, else if signal green, print go. Okay. So the idea is number of LF is dependent on the number of conditions to be checked. If the first condition is false, then the next condition is checked, and so on. If one of the condition is true, then the corresponding intended block executes and the if statement terminates. Well, the idea is the Python program will not go and check all these conditions. As soon as one of the conditions is true, it will go out of the if statement. Because again, don't forget the idea of selection. Python has already selected one of the conditions and it would have already executed the block within. Okay, so it will stop checking the elif conditions once it has the correct condition, because the
Okay.
idea is again to select things. Once selected, the idea is to get away. Okay, now you understand the difference between multiple if statements and if elif statements.
Yeah.
Tell me the difference.
A signal, I mean, if is just for one thing, and elif elif shows an alternative, so you can't really put if more than once.
Correct. So, if what would happen if I would have written if signal and the block within, and I would just replace elif with ifs, what would happen then? If I write elif with if I replace elif with if, what would happen in this program?
A Python would have got confused,
Uh,
or it would still print the first one only if it matched.
Correct. That's correct. It would only Python really won't get confused. But yes, if I enter red, it will only match with red and print stop. But in case of ifs, when I replace ifs with elifs, what will happen is Python will check this condition, and because there's an if here, it will also check this condition and also check this condition. Where we would not want Python to check, because we have already found a match. That is why elifs are used. Because once a condition is matched in if elif statements, see, if elif is a combination. You can't simply write this statement alone. Okay, so elif can come only after if.
Okay.
So once you write statements with elifs, so it's telling Python, hey, as soon as a condition is matched, elif doesn't have to go ahead. What if I enter orange? So what will happen? It will go and check this condition. Okay. So red, no, it wasn't that. It will go and check this condition. It will see, okay, orange is there. It will go and print be slow. It will not even match the third condition. That's the idea with elifs. But in case of ifs, it would have matched all three conditions.
Okay.
You would ask me what will happen if even if Python takes, if what will
All
happen
three.
even if Python matches three conditions? I'll get the same answer. Well, the idea is to write programs that would, you know, that would that are faster, and there'll be a lot of optimizations when you enter the world of algorithms. So you would want to write the fastest program which takes less resources. So saving on statements like these will save you time in factoring. Okay, that's the idea. And I just got an example in mind to explain the if else wali cheese bhi. So I'll just get to it. Okay, so let's
Okay.
just write a program to uh, tell whether the number is a positive, okay, or negative. Okay, so if I write num1 greater than 0 or num1, okay, so if I have to write number is a positive integer, that's the program. Okay, okay,
Okay.
so the program is to identify if the input number is a positive integer or not. And I say that I am fond of using else statements with ifs. Okay, uh, and with else I write no, it's not a positive. 1 second. Integer. What was the doubt you asked me regarding else?
Might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, Om. What was the doubt that you asked me?
I might asked you, why did you use else when you could have used if?
Perfect. So I'm just answering it now. Enter the number and tell you if it's a positive integer or not. Okay. So, well, here's the program. So let's just run this. Well, simple answer to this is to save time. Okay. If num is greater than 0, my god, what's happening, man? Something wrong with them. Oh my god. See, here's the problem. The problem is not here. The problem is in this line. Because I didn't close the indentation here. Understood?
Okay.
Okay. So the problem was not there actually. The problem was above. Okay, no issues. So enter the number. I'll tell you if it's a positive integer or not. Okay. So tell me any number. Any positive integer.
5.
5. Well, it says diff is not defined. Where did we use diff? Well, it has to be
Oh
num1.
yeah, printf. Okay.
Well, so I'll just run this again. We enter 5. It says it's a positive integer. Correct? What if
Yeah.
you ask me, what if I don't write, two if conditions here? Why did I write else? So if I have to replace this with if, actually the number of conditions will increase. Why? I'll have to check, well, if num equals 0, then I also have to check. Then I have to check if num less than 0, then I also have to check.
Okay, so it increases the
That's correct.
work.
Yeah. So we don't have to write a lot of conditions when we know our ideal condition. Ideal condition is to only check num1 is greater than 0. For all other conditions, else is to be used. Okay. So that's the idea. Did I clear your doubt?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So you understood the usage of if, else, elif.
Yes.
Perfect. So the number of elif is dependent on the number of conditions to be checked. If the first condition is false, then the next condition is checked and so on. If one of the condition is true, then the corresponding intended block executes and the if statement terminates. That's what we understood. Okay. So there's this program 6.3, where you have to create a calculator, and I want you to be really honest with this homework. Though the program is written explained here in the text where I've written, please do this as homework and ask me in case of doubts. The solution is just below. What you got to do is just don't look at the solution and try and solve this. It will make use of everything that we have studied until now.
Okay.
Okay, so just be honest, don't use this, and do
Okay.
this program. I've mentioned it here. And that was about that. If you need help, uh, it's better that you ask me rather than looking at the
Okay.
solution. Okay. uh, cool. There's this another thing that I wanted to talk about is the indentation that I already have written about it earlier. So it's only about spaces and tabs. So a tab is two spaces, and in most programming languages the statement within a block are put inside curly brackets. So in programming languages like Java, like C++, uh, the indentation is really not required because those programming languages use curly braces. Okay, Python has this way of adding spaces so that the program looks more readable and is understandable as well. So it's different things about different worlds, like similarly different things for different languages. So the idea is same. Whenever there is a if statement or a block starting with selection, you have to add four spaces here, like whatever tab here, whatever statements that you want to run inside the block, and that's how you do indentation. So indentation is nothing, it's just adding trailing spaces. Okay, so any
Okay.
doubts until now?
Yes, sir. I have one. What is the use of putting two equal to's?
Correct. So 2 equal
Like
to
when you put,
Mhm.
like I saw somewhere, it was like if num1 and then those
Mhm.
two signs. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Correct. So the idea is it is to check. Okay. So rather, I'll ask you, what is num1 equals 5? This is assignment. So 5 is assigned to num1. Okay. So if I write num1 equals 5, what it will do is it will check if num1 is actually equal to 5 or not. Hence, it gave me an
Oh,
output, true or false. Okay, so if I write num1 equals 7, it will give me false because num1 is actually 5,
okay, got it.
right? So that is why we use double equals. Okay,
Okay,
so any other doubts?
no,
Okay, so repetition, as we discussed, that repetition is doing things over and over, same things over and over, okay, or maybe different things but over and over, right? So, though I would like to touch this in the next class, but still, I would give you a little hint in this class, but we'll still touch this in next class, okay? So, repetition, uh, just tell me one thing. You see this program, right? So write a program to print the first five natural numbers. If you were to print it until now, from the knowledge that you have for Python, you will print this way, right? So print 1 will give you 1, print 2 will give you 2, and so on and so forth.
yeah,
Similarly, if I tell you to, so there's this homework that I have given you and you didn't do it. So until now you have done all the homeworks. But let's suppose that for a homework that I give you, you don't actually do it, and I ask you to write, uh, I will do my homework next time 100 times. So when you do it on paper, you literally have to write 100 times. When you do it on Python, until now you will do it like this print, and then in quotations you would write I'll do my homework next time, and you'll write this, copy paste
yeah,
it eventually 100 times,
yeah,
right? So that's what you do. But what if I tell you, since Python has repetition included in a programming language like Python, then with just 3 or 4 lines of code you can actually, you know, write or output, I'll do my homework 100 times, or rather do any kind of computations, any kind of work, that's repetitive in nature, Python will do it for you and do respective computations, respective outputs, and anything like that. Okay, so that's the idea behind repetition being included in Python, and there are a lot of tasks in life also that we have to repeat. So, like your life is full of repetition. You wake up, you
Exactly.
go to school, you come back, you have a class to attend, you sleep. That's what you do. So you are repeating it yourselves every day, right? uh, Also, there's this example written here that there's this butterfly to eggs to, I mean, like whatever the natural process they have. So it's all about repetition in life. So Python also has a repetition to take care of, and in the next class we'll look at how Python handles repetitions